Okay, so welcome today to the Sage Scholars Virtual College Fair. My name is Abram, and I'll be the facilitator for this session. This is one of the sessions that we're doing today, among four that we're doing today. We have a great panel here to talk to you about the college admissions process and how to prepare for college. Today's college fair is brought to you by Sage Scholars. It's a membership organization of over 425 private schools and universities in 46 different states. They have millions of families that have joined together by the common goal of making private education more affordable and accessible for everybody. Higher education, private or public, is a wonderful goal to ascribe to, but private education has many unique advantages. Higher graduation rates, fewer years to graduation, smaller classes, and better options and better outcomes after college, both in the jobs and graduate school opportunities. Since 2018, over 10,000 Sage students have applied to our member colleges and have been granted over $260 million in scholarships. In addition, Sage Scholars has made a 5-year commitment to provide $1 million in hard dollar scholarships from their own funds to Sage students. There's a lot more information on their website, which is tuitionrewards.com, and I'll put that in the chat in just a minute. And we encourage you to visit the virtual booth as part of the fair that they're going to be having on after this session. With that, we'd like to introduce our panelists for today. The first today will be Mr. Jeff Patak from Duquesne University. Give me one moment here and I'll bring up your slides. And Jeff, go ahead, please.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. At least it's afternoon here in Pittsburgh, or good morning, wherever you're watching this today. It's great to be here. I want to thank Sage for inviting me to be a part of this panel, along with my colleagues, Ruth and Niki in higher education. Just to give you a little info about myself, again, my name is Jeff Ptak. I'm one of the Associate Directors of Admission at Duquesne University. I've been with Duquesne about 6 years now, and I've been working in higher ed for about 12 years. So I've helped a lot of students and families and first-year students and transfer students and international and grad. So a lot of experience helping students navigate the process of choosing and getting prepared and getting ready to go to college. Duquesne, we've been in Pittsburgh a long time. So if you're not familiar with the city of Pittsburgh, way back in 1878 started. Students really love our location here in Pittsburgh. We've got a nice, beautiful private campus right outside of the city. So lots of opportunities and lots of fun things for students to do here. Great academics and just a wonderful city. So if you ever get a chance to cross through Pittsburgh or have a visit, please do stop by Duquesne. Next slide has a little bit of my contact info. So feel free to jot that down if I can answer any questions, not just about our school, but anything about getting started, whether you're a first-time parent watching this and something I can answer questions about. Always feel free to give me an email or give me a call, because I think all of us will agree we're all about helping families and helping students. So when I was asked to be on this panel, the topic of preparing for college, I'm sure my colleagues were saying like, whoa, where do we start? I mean, there's so much to cover, really. So I had an idea, and I thought I'd reach out to some of my friends and colleagues that actually work in the schools as guidance counselors and career planning and counselors that help students navigate. And one of the themes that I kept hearing was the maybe the underutilization of the guidance program at the high school level. And one of the areas they wish students would take advantage of more is working with their guidance counselors and their career planners as early as their first year, you know, not waiting until it's, okay, I guess I got to start applying time, but really starting to work with those professionals. That's what they're there for, their freshman year, and moving on from there. So that's a constant theme that I kept hearing. So something that we definitely will probably talk more about today, but not just the students, also the parents as well, getting into thinking about college, that first year of high school. can be overwhelming. So utilizing the resources that your high school is providing, whether it be financial aid seminars or just talking about the process. So looking forward to talking more about that today with all of you, and looking forward to answering questions from all of my colleagues. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll have Niki Levine, Director of Undergraduate Admissions from Springfield College. I'll bring your slides up here for you. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Abram, and thank you everyone for being here today. I'm really excited to talk with you all about starting the college search process. I am Niki Lavine. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Springfield College, located in Springfield, Massachusetts. Springfield College has also been around for quite some time. We were founded way back in 1885. And if you didn't know, Springfield College is actually the birthplace of basketball. So really cool history at our institution as well. We've also had a mission that's been pretty consistent since we opened, which is to educate students in spirit, mind, and body for leadership and service to others. And that mission statement really resonates with so much that we do on campus. It's built into our academics, our co-curricular experience for students, and our 40 plus majors are really service-oriented programs. We are a smaller campus. We have about 2,100 undergraduate students. Our students really, like I said, live by that mission. They're really well-rounded in spirit, mind, and body. So our co-curricular involvement and our campus community is really, really vibrant. We have over 60 different clubs and organizations for students to be a part of, huge Division III athletic programs, and lots of service and leadership opportunities for our students. We also at Springfield really value small class sizes. We have an average class size of about 22 students. Our student-to-teacher ratio is about 12:1. So students at Springfield College get that really individualized learning experience. So, as Jeff said, we really recommend that you work with your school counselors, your guidance counselors, your career counselors in high school. But another layer to that is that we as admissions counselors are here to help you through the process too. So I think a really great tip for starting your college search process is to lean on the admissions professionals at the institutions that you're interested in. That's what we're here for. We're here to help you make this process really fun, really engaging, really interactive, answer any of your questions. I know at Springfield, we're happy to help students select their coursework in high school that's going to help best prepare them for the programs that they might be interested in applying to. So we work with students really in some cases as early as their freshman year in high school, if they really kind of already have a set track that they know that they want to take in college. So lean on your school counselors and those resources within your high school, but also lean on those admissions resources as well.
All right, thank you very much. And then finally, we have Ruth Schauble, Associate Director of Admissions from Whitworth University.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, I don't have a lovely slide to show you all, but as you said, my name is Ruth Schauble, and I am an Associate Director of Admissions at Whitworth University. Whitworth University is a wonderful small Christian liberal arts and sciences university in Spokane, Washington. So on the West Coast, and Spokane is actually the second largest city in Washington, second to Seattle, and we are in lovely Eastern Washington. So while Seattle area and Western Washington has a reputation for being very rainy and gray and dreary, Spokane has a distinct four-season climate. Beautiful, amazing spring right now. There's incredible flowers everywhere on campus, lovely falls, lovely winter wonderland, warm summers with lots of lakes in our area. So it's a pretty amazing destination. Really actually great college town. There are a couple other universities in the Spokane area, and a pretty remarkable sort of atmosphere that we have here. But on campus, we have, again, similar to what Niki was just saying, we're a small school. We have about 2,300 students at Whitworth, which I like to describe as small but not tiny, which I think is an important distinction because the typical small Christian school is usually about half our size. And so being a little larger just means there's a few more people to meet, a few more faces to get to know, a few more clubs to join, a few more classes to choose from, and a few more majors. Some of the things that we have that set us apart is our incredibly close-knit community vibe on campus. We're very, very known for that. People who visit campus, it's often the first thing they notice is how friendly and smiley and helpful everybody is on campus. We're a very mission-driven organization. We talk about our mission all the time, just to give our diverse student body an education of the mind and heart to equip our graduates to honor God, follow Christ, and serve humanity. And while we are a Christian university, we do not have a faith requirement for our students. So we welcome ideas from all different sides of the spectrum. And I, love this idea, thinking about preparing for college a little bit earlier. For those of you who are sort of a little earlier in high school, one of my biggest tips to you is really spend some time thinking about what you want, not just what you want to major in, because the reality is the chances are you're going to change your mind about that a couple of different times, maybe several different times. We see that a lot, people coming in with something on their application and then changing their mind several times while they're already enrolled. But more about what is your experience? What are you trying to get out of your college education? What is the ultimate goal? And hopefully, maybe there's some Saturday afternoons at football games, but even beyond that, the 4 years beyond, what are you hoping to get from that experience? Small classes, any of those kinds of things. Spend some time thinking about that. And also, if you're a junior specifically, now is the time to start looking for outside scholarships. This is something that right now I am working with seniors in high school, many of whom never spent any time looking for them and are now really sad because several of their universities aren't options for them financially. So this is the time. A lot of scholarships have deadlines as soon as September of your senior year of high school. So if you're looking for outside scholarships, this is the time I recommend. So that's sort of my 2 cents. Great to see you all and happy to be a part of this panel with these lovely other guests.
Well, thank you very much. So a couple of questions that we have. So if you have a student, who's really focused in on a particular school, they have a dream school that they really want, or one or two that they're really striving for, what can you do to kind of stand out in the admissions process? What's the kind of things that, a 9th, 10th, 11th grader should be trying to do so that they're really stand out, or that are set them apart from the herd, if you will? Go ahead. We'll start with Ruth on this one.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think one of the things I see a lot of times that students do is they oftentimes are trying to build things that they think make them look more competitive on an application. But in reality, it just makes them look like they're trying a lot of things without any passion. So that list of like 30 different extracurriculars that you've tried for 2 hours and then gave up on, it's great if you're trying to find your thing, but it's not helpful to just do it for the sake of building a resume. We want to see commitment, dedication, responsibility, passion about the things that you're doing. And so, whatever that passion is, maybe you are super into football and being that equipment manager on the football team, and you love helping in the weight training classes and running on your own or reading books about it. That's great. Or maybe you're super into orchestra and you play violin and you're super passionate about that, and also get a job on the side. It doesn't necessarily have to be one thing, and there's no one big ticket item, but just really thinking about what you want and leaning authentically into that, as opposed to thinking about what you think we want and trying to present yourself as someone you're not, because we're going to notice that right away. So I would say that's one thing that can help you stand apart a little.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
Yeah, I totally agree. Great answer, great recommendations. We have, when I think about this standing out, especially when you're looking at competitive programs, maybe a smaller program, there's a lot of demand, a lot of applications. You're going to have schools, on paper, you're going to get a lot of applicants that have great GPAs, great test scores, maybe they're test optional. Everyone sort of looks the same on paper. So it could come down to areas like your essay, like your letters of recommendation, that are going to set you apart from one another. I think when you're writing essays, take your time, do your research, talk about what your experiences have been visiting that dream school that you want, share stories about how you felt when you were there. Try to make it really personal to that particular school that you're applying to. make sure that it's unique for them. Make sure you change the name of the school too. I'm sure you guys have seen that, my colleagues, where you get a essay that says the wrong school name, so don't do that. But really put some heart into it, because a lot of times we do read essays that you can kind of tell are a little generic in nature. It's like, dear school, I want to come there, and they just like fill in the blank and the font's different, so make sure you put some time and thought into it, because I know as a reader, I know a lot of our applications go to our department chairs, and they really want to feel that the student really is passionate about being here, because those are the students that are really going to come here, give it 110%, thrive, and stand out. I would like to share this story about a student that sent actually in the mail. Their essay included a pop-up book that they made about their experience at Duquesne. So I don't know if you remember those pop-up books when you flip it and it sort of jumps out at you. And they had their picture, and it was like, here I am on Duquesne's campus, and here I am in Duquesne's dorm, and they had the Duquesne. It was just so cute. We just thought this student really, really took some time to put this in, some effort into that. So I'm not saying you have to do a pop-up book, but just shows the creativity, really take some time and learn about that school. So, but great answers from everyone.
Niki?
Yeah, I think, my colleagues, Jeff and Ruth, both have great recommendations. To add on to that, many schools do track demonstrated interest that a student expresses too. So anytime there's an opportunity for you to visit a campus that you might be interested in, whether that's in person or virtually, or if a representative from that campus is visiting your high school, take advantage of all of those opportunities. For institutions, I know at Springfield College specifically, we're very relationship driven. We work really closely with the students that we're recruiting, and many schools actually have a counselor that's assigned to each territory. And that counselor is going to be your point of contact and the person that works with you through the whole admissions process. So show your interest in the schools that you're looking at by connecting with your counselor, by being involved in different events and opportunities that the schools that you're looking at are providing for you. Many schools, like I said, do track that. And while it might not ultimately be the end all be all that makes your admissions decision, it's really helpful for us to have a sense of how interested you are in Springfield, how interested you are in Whitworth, how interested you are in Duquesne. So it really helps to have a sense of that interest too. So get involved in anything that you can that is provided to you by the institutions that you're looking at.
Oh, great. So now I'm going to ask you the opposite question, right? I'm a parent of 3 teenagers, right? My middle one's getting ready to start this process, and he wants to go to college, right? So how do you go from 4,000 colleges down to the one? So how do you what are your words of wisdom on kind of instead of being focused on one, how do I get there? If you're not focused, how do you become more focused? How do you winnow through it all? And what should we be looking at to find the right fit when you don't know? And we'll go ahead and start with Jeff this time.
Do you want me to start that one? Yeah, it's some of it's already been mentioned a little bit. I think the ease of doing research nowadays is so much better than it used to be in my day, where you didn't have the access to virtual tours and all of this, and certainly take some time. But I do recommend, when you're looking at schools, if you're not sure what's going to be the best fit, try to visit some schools that are really different from each other. Maybe a large state school, maybe a small private liberal arts type of school, schools out in the country, schools in the city. We know who we are as Duquesne. We know why students love us, but we want to make sure students visit, feel that, and they can sense that this is where they want to be. And I think as you visit more and more campuses, and luckily we're starting to see campuses more and more start to offer tours, and hopefully things will continue to improve, but you'll start to get a sense of what size of school we're going to have. There's a lot of great schools, a lot of great programs out there, but I think having that comfort of knowing this is where I feel comfortable, it's just going to make your experience so much better. So obvious answer, visit, do some research, but that'll really, really help you in the long run.
Okay, Niki?
I totally agree. That campus visit piece is so important. You can be researching and see a school virtually, but stepping foot on campus is a totally different feeling. So, even if a college that you're looking at is quite a distance away, try to make it, especially if you're accepted to that college, try to make it to campus to have that feeling for yourself. But I would also add to that, think about the things that are important to you in your college search process. And I know Ruth kind of touched on this a little bit earlier also. Do you want small class sizes? Maybe, if a huge lecture size class is not where you're going to thrive, a larger university that offers a lot of lecture size classes might not be the best fit for you. You might want to look at a smaller school. Do you want to be in a big city? Do you want to be in a country? Do you want to be at a campus that's going to feel like a small city itself? Or do you want to be in a really small, close-knit campus community? How far away from home do you want to be? What do you want to study? That's a great place to start. Every school offers specific programs. If you have a really niche major that you're interested in, like art therapy, not many schools offer art therapy. So that's a great place to start to even narrow down your college search a little bit. So think about those factors that are important to you and the kind of community you think you're going to thrive in, and you can kind of start to narrow down your list from there.
Ruth?
Yeah, these are all awesome suggestions. I'm going to third the suggestion to visit, which of course is not always an easy thing to do, especially right now, but keep in mind a lot of universities and colleges have fly-in programs or often offer some kind of travel reimbursement if it's any kind of difficulty for you to visit. So especially if you're an admitted student, a lot of people have programs similar to that. So ask, never hurts to ask. I know a lot of universities just want to make that possible. And I actually have a personal anecdote about visiting, totally changing my personal college trajectory, which is that I had a very clear idea of what I wanted to do. And there was a university that on paper sounded perfect. I was 100% convinced. It had everything I wanted. It had, like, the students made it sound great. The pictures made it look great. Everything sounded perfect. I went and visited, and honestly, within a minute of stepping out of the car, I immediately knew it wasn't the right place. Just didn't have the right feel, the right vibe. Not that it's not a great college, but it just wasn't right for me. And I'm really glad that I did that before I was admitted and, had turned down other universities. So I'm very fortunate that I was able to do that. But the other thing I would say is, think about a little bit about what you want to study. And Niki touched on this a little bit. And of course, like I said, you're going to change your mind a lot, but maybe there's a general area. Like, you maybe know you're not a math person, you're a humanities person, you're going to want to major in English or, communication studies or something in that realm. You might not know exactly what it is. So start thinking about that, start looking for colleges that talk about that. English isn't the best example because you can major in that literally anywhere. But especially if you're thinking about science programs or engineering programs, things like that, there are going to be some options that are just going to stand out a little bit as you do your research. And I'm not necessarily talking about top rankings. I'm talking about time with professors, research opportunities, things that a lot of people don't think to look at, but rankings don't tell you everything. So when you're doing your research, look a little bit in between the lines, talk to people who have had experiences with those programs to kind of narrow it down a little bit more.
Great. One of the things that has come up in the other sessions that we've had, I know it's a hot topic in the higher education, is SATs and ACTs and test optional schools and how important are these testing? Is this something that I should spend hours and hours preparing for? Is this something does it help? Does it hurt? Do you care? Love to get your feedback and your thoughts on standardized tests. Which one to take? Should I take them? Should I turn my things in if it's optional? That type of idea. Niki?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the institutions that you're looking at. Definitely connect with those institutions and see what their specific admissions criteria is. I can say Springfield College, we are test optional for the majority of our programs. Right now, the only two programs that we require SAT or ACT scores for are our athletic training program and education programs. And those are just because of certification requirements. Students, once they enter the graduate level for athletic training and for the SATs, our students have to take the MTEL, the Massachusetts Teacher Licensure Exam. We want to make sure that our students are going to be successful in those exams. programs. That's not to say that if students, don't have SAT score requirements and come in under a different major, that they can't internally transfer into those programs. That's certainly an option too. Whenever I'm talking to students about their test scores, even though we're test optional, I still get the question oftentimes from students, but I did take the SAT or the ACT, should I still submit my score? My response is always, if you are super confident in your score, you want us to know what your score was, go ahead and submit it. If you're unsure at all about whether you should submit your score or not, don't submit it. It's not going to hurt your application at all to not submit your score if you're applying to a test optional program. With that being said, if you submit your test scores and you're applying to a test options program, it also doesn't impact your application decision. It just means that your score is available for us to view, but it's not going to be a determining factor in your application review. So I would highly recommend reaching out to each school that you're applying to, because every school's policy about testing is going to be a little bit different. And even, schools that say that they're test optional, their policies might be different from one another. So it's really important to connect with each of those schools to see what their specific policy is.
No, thank you, Ruth.
Yeah, so this is a very interesting time both to work in admissions and to be a student applying to universities. There has been this growing trend of test optional, even test blind universities, and then COVID hit and it just snowballed like an avalanche due to necessity, but also due to growing research that tests don't necessarily show colleges what they're looking for in an application process. They can be helpful information, but so are other aspects of an application. And so for me, I know that the majority of the time I get everything I need to know about an applicant from all the other parts of an application that are not the test scores. And I've been in college admissions for 10 years at 2 different universities, both of which are test optional. And so, I've had a lot of time to sort of compare and look at it. And this year has been really interesting because Whitworth has been test optional for 14 years, but usually about 2/3 of students send their test scores. This year we had maybe 25% of students with test scores in their application for obvious reasons, but I didn't miss them at all. I didn't find them really helpful, with the exception of the few students who sent them who had very high scores and, a more tumultuous high school experience. So it really helped demonstrate, okay, you really have potential. You've had some ups and downs, but we can really see that there's something here. So that's a situation where definitely I always recommend sending test scores. If you have done well on the tests, and that what done well means varies from institution to institution, because you want to ask what's your average SAT score or ACT score or CLT score, because that's going to change. Some places doing well is a 1600, some places doing well is a 1200. Doesn't say anything about the place. It just helps you determine whether to send your scores. But for the most part, I have found that there's a kind of a flood. It's over 1,400 universities now. So think about what you want. As Niki said, some programs, because of licensure and certification, still require some kind of testing. And that may be something you don't have to do till you get to the university, and there may be alternate tests available, but it's something to make sure you ask about. But I would say it's not something you need to waste a lot of time thinking about. Don't stress out about it. Being a teenager is so stressful. Please spend time being a teenager, enjoying your life, enjoying your youth while you have it, and don't stress out about what you do one Saturday morning, your junior or senior year.
Okay. Thank you. And Jeff.
Well, there's not much to add there. My colleague nailed it. Great answers. Do your research on your schools. Make sure. Right now, I know our school's all test optional. We've been test optional way before COVID for certain programs. So with COVID, we do not want to hurt students that have been unable to test. Took some work, convincing a lot of our departments, just to get on board, but the whole university is very supportive now of the test optional for students, because that's what it's all about. It's really about getting students access to Duquesne and across the country. As my colleagues have said, this is a big trend. So we'll see what happens as we move forward, and if testing is going to come back. I mean, there is data that shows for some majors, some programs, it is a good indicator of future success, but we're not sure. We'll just have to see what happens. So, but don't be afraid of test optional programs. Doesn't mean they're not as good as other schools that want you to test. the schools are going to look at you as an individual. So, and then just make sure you call your schools and ask those questions.
And then so basically, if it helps you, do it. If it doesn't, then don't.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Anything that you've seen or anything that you see year after year that just makes you kind of bang your head against the wall and say, I can't believe somebody else has done this, or anything that you see, anything that I'm sure, right? What are those big mistakes that people make that you just can't believe they do?
You can tell I'm excited to go first, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's just,
I'll sit back and be relaxed.
I think the theme, though, that we've all mentioned about is starting early. And I think that's sort of this preparing for college. And I am amazed. And I know it's been crazy this past year, but it's not just this year. It's been every year. You see it all the time as you see students coming in, deadline deposit May 1st, and they're on campus for the first time ever, April 25th or something. They haven't submitted their FAFSA, so it's just maybe you don't know what's going on, but again, it's just about really being prepared. We don't want to rush into a decision that is really going to have a positive impact on the rest of your life, but you're just not prepared to make that. So I think we just are always amazed that that happens. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can at Mission to get out to families, get out to students early, so we can avoid those last minute rush decisions about what you're going to be doing. So that's one thing we always say.
Niki?
Yeah, I completely agree. I would also add, don't make your application what you think we're going to want to see, right? Your application should be about you. It should be your voice. The essay specifically, I know we touched on a little bit earlier. Tell your story in your essay. Don't write an essay that you think we're going to want to hear. We want to hear who you are. Your essay is your voice. Everything else in your application, your letters of recommendation, are all coming from people who know you. This is your chance to tell your story in your application. And as Ruth touched upon, don't try to pick a bunch of clubs and organizations that you think are going to make you look like a better applicant to these schools. Your application should be a true reflection of who you are. So make sure that that comes through in, the activities that you're involved in the teachers that you ask to write your recommendations, and in your essay. And then each school typically, especially if you're applying to a common application school, most schools will include a couple of questions specific to their school. Like Springfield College has a Why Springfield College question. Don't just skip over those. We're paying really close attention to those questions because that's really our indicator of how interested you are in the school. So it kind of ties back to that demonstrated interest piece too. So take your time, tell your story, and make sure your application really is a true reflection of you.
Yeah, because what good does it to get accepted into a college where you're not going to be a good fit, right?
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
It's hard to tell folks this, but sometimes being turned down by a school is a good thing. It could mean that you just that's not the right place. So like what Ruth was saying earlier, she found out right away as soon as she got there, this wasn't the right spot for her. So, okay. And Ruth?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit of a more technical route because both Jeff and Niki had awesome suggestions. Mine is your email and your voicemail. So one, I highly recommend creating a college specific Gmail account. Mine would be like ruthschaublecollege@gmail.com. I see this a lot, and forward it to your normal email account or check it regularly. The number of students who just don't realize that we never received their high school transcript because they just don't check their email. It's sad. That means you've missed deadlines, right? You've lost opportunities, maybe missed scholarship deadlines at some universities. You don't want to risk that. Check your email and understand that there should be legally an unsubscribe button in all the emails. So if there gets to a point where you're like, I just don't want to hear from this college anymore, you don't need to respond with a mean email. Yes, I do read these. Real people read them. You can just click unsubscribe. Easy peasy. Now, if you're admitted, please send us an email and let us know so that we can, free up that spot. But that's a really important one. The other one is your voicemail. Whether you like it or not, the adult world does call and leave voicemails about important information. So if your voicemail box is full, if your voicemail message is like a Kim Kardashian quote or something like that, which I have absolutely heard, just think about who might be calling. And if it's not your friends, because they don't use the phone, who are the people who are most likely to be calling and listening to your voicemail message while you're applying to college? It's probably us. So think about that, check your voicemail, look for that little thing, and know that if we're calling you, it's because we want to tell you something important, and you're an important part of us and our plans. And so we just want to get a hold of you. So that's sort of my technical aspect.
Right. That shows a lot about who you are as well. So since you brought that up, another topic that comes up a lot is social media. How does students' social media presence play into college decisions from your point of view? Who wants to go first?
I would just be smart, just like everything else. Just be smart about what you're sharing, because it could be looked at, it may not, but very simple. Just be smart with what you're doing out there, because you want to get into that school. So just be careful. That's it.
Is that something that you do look at as admissions folks, or not, or sometimes?
Not necessarily. I'll let my colleagues answer, but
Yeah, I would say it's not something we're not going to, Google your Facebook or Instagram or anything as we're reading your application. But if something comes to our attention, that certainly could be considered in your admissions decision. Many institutions, admissions decisions are not only based on your academic performance, they're also based on your community standards. And many of those decisions are based on community standards that the institutions that you're looking at upholds themselves. So if you're posting something that's inappropriate or, violates the community standards of the colleges that you're applying to, that could be grounds to either deny you admission or revoke an admissions decision. So as Jeff said, just be really smart about what you're putting out there. And I think that's good advice, for anything in the future, for jobs that you're applying to, anything at all. Anyone can see your social media account. So you want that to be a positive reflection of who you are.
Yeah, exactly. I don't ever go out of my way to look up an applicant's social media account. We simply just don't have time when we're reading applications. But every now and then I do get a student who actually links to a YouTube video or like an Instagram post that they did because it's something that's a big part of their life. And in that case, I might see other things that you've done. So you have to really think carefully about that. Websites too, if you put together an art portfolio, just really think carefully about the presentation of yourself you're putting out into the world. The internet is forever, even if you don't think it is, even if you've deleted it. So really just think carefully about that. And is this the authentic person you're trying to put forward? And is that who you really want to be going forward? I think those are the important questions to ask.
All right. So thank you very much. This has been great. So start early, do lots of visits. Make sure you actually show who you are on your application, and be smart about it all. I think kind of wraps up everything that you've been trying to say. So any last words of wisdom for our folks?
I think you summed it up. Go ahead, Ruth.
I was just going to say, just to reiterate what Niki said at the beginning, if you're feeling overwhelmed by anything that we've said here, reach out to us. In the college you're interested in, there's a reason that we are called admissions counselors at many universities, because we're here to help and assist. So if anything's stressing you out, just let us know. We're here to assist you.
And have fun. You're only going to go through this process once. You want it to be, it seems stressful, but make sure that you're having fun going through your admissions process too. And that's what we're here to help with too, is to take some of that stress off of your plate so that you can enjoy the process.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. This has been extremely helpful, and we look forward to having you on for another event soon. Thank you very much.